What's up guys, it's Cam coming at you from the 2-6. Welcome back to Carolina Fragrance Reviews. Today is going to be the first video of a new series that I have coming out called Smell Better on a Budget. So what I'll be doing is going over more popular and more expensive niche fragrances and then a couple of less expensive or inexpensive alternatives too that I find work really well. Without no further ado, let's get into this. So what way to better kick off a series in this than to talk about one of the most absolute iconic niche fragrances from one of the most iconic niche brands. I know you guys have heard tons and tons and tons about Creed Aventus. Now there's all the talk about the batch variations, there's the discussions of performance, and of course at full retail of $400 and up, it's a controversial fragrance, but it is also a very beloved fragrance. So what I'm going to do is show you a couple of alternatives. If you want to know more about Creed Aventus itself, I have a lot of different content. I'll leave a couple links and I'll also leave a video up in the description just showing some variations of the Aventus batches and battles, different content that I have done to actually cover Creed Aventus itself. The focus of this video is actually to show you inexpensive or less expensive alternatives. So what I'm going to do is give you something that's kind of in the middle and then something below as far as the actual pricing, and then I'll show you the variations, differences as far as price, scent profiles, etc. So in 2019, Mont Blanc decided that they were going to get in on the Aventus DNA and do kind of like a twist of a designer version of it by using Mont Blanc Explorer. Now this is a fragrance that is actually even more recently getting a lot more play. I actually had this fragrance that I had in a DNA battle, and the guy that smelled it actually recognized it right away. So for those of you who might be against clones, clone brands, this, that, and the other, this is a decent, actually a better than decent, alternative to Aventus. When this first came out, a 100 ml bottle like this actually ran right at $100. So here we are now, a year later, with this at discounters, which kind of happens pretty quickly, especially with some fragrances more than others. So you can actually buy 100 ml now at discounters for what you could buy a 30 ml of it back when it first came out if you paid full retail, which was running around 60 bucks. I have seen these go from anywhere to 50 to 60 bucks for the 100 ml if you check at discounters. I don't see any reason to pay full retail for any fragrance unless you don't have a choice or you want to get in right when a fragrance drops. Now let's actually talk about the scent, the differences between this and Aventus, and of course performance. I know a lot of you guys have had issues with Aventus and the performance. Well, when you're paying a really high price for it, I can understand that. Now the performance on this is not nuclear, it's not through the roof or anything, but it is actually comparable to some of the batches of Aventus. So when you're talking 50, 60 bucks versus 300-400 bucks, it's kind of a no-brainer. Now of course it doesn't smell exactly like Aventus, so if you want that sweet pineapple and you want that smoky birch and everything, you might want to get a decant of Aventus. Matter of fact, you can go to today's sponsor, go to www.myfragrancesamples.com, use my discount code CFR15, and you will actually see this Aventus and a couple of other alternatives that I'm going to mention in this video. Now there are a few notes that are shared by Aventus and Explorer, bergamot being one of them. Now for the pineapple lovers, this doesn't have any pineapple. For those of you who love like those older smokier batches of Aventus, this doesn't have any smoke either. But it does have some pepper in here, which some people kind of, when you take the patchouli and the pepper together, mixed with some of the aroma chemicals that are used in this, some people interpret it as being a little more smoky, but it's not going to be like a dark birch smoke like you're going to get from Aventus. Some of the other notes that are used in Explorer are vetiver, ambroxan, leather, and woods. Now I have to be completely honest with you about this. I wasn't all that excited about this fragrance when it first came out. and I was smelling so many different fragrances that had Aventus scent profiles, inspired by Aventus, somebody's own little tweak or take. So many of them coming in at me at one time. I really didn't pay this one close attention. But after spending more time with this fragrance and actually owning a full bottle versus a decant and just, you know, spraying liberally, I like it a lot. I really do. And I'm a huge Aventus fan. Does it smell identical to Aventus? Again, no, it does not. There's a little window in here that actually, you know, it's a short window, maybe 20, 30 minutes, where it actually does smell very similar to Aventus as it's, you know, starting to dry down. My brother actually thought that I had Aventus on the other day when I was wearing this, and he actually went and scooped up a bottle because he was like, dang dude, if it smells that close to Aventus, I want in on it. And maybe in the air, you know, and it might have been going through that transitional time of when it smells more like Aventus. But as this dries down, it does go into its own thing, and it goes into it enough to where it's actually recognizable to those who've smelled it before. Now this is going to be a perfect fragrance, you know, for casual wear. I would suggest even like a signature scent. A lot of people that I know more than use Aventus as a signature scent, they use it as an addiction. Some of you guys have like 4 bottles of every batch there is, and hey, God love you for it, because Aventus is a really exciting fragrance still to me, because what I'll do is I'll just take hard breaks from it when I go back to it, like, yeah boy, there's that jam. Now at this type of price, we're talking 50, 60 bucks for 100 ml, and yes, you can get it in 60 and also 30 ml. So I mean, that's not bad, and the price obviously going to keep going down. But I noticed there's not like a massive difference in between those price ranges as you get smaller, as it was like when it first came out. It was pretty choppy differences in between them, where they're much closer nowadays. But at that price, I mean, you can wear this on date night, you can wear it casually, you can wear it to the office, you can wear it as a signature scent, you know, everything. It's just a perfect scent. But again, if you're looking for that beastly alternative, maybe Explorer's not going to be the perfect one, but you can spray more of it and save money. As we go into the less expensive alternatives, there are a lot, and I know you guys will tell me 100 different ones in the comments, and that's fine. If you want to drop them down in the comments, that'll be fine, especially for other people who watch the channel want to see that might not know all the alternatives. A couple that come to my mind, you know, right off the top of the head is like Insurrection 2, Mercedes-Benz has one, and Pete and Pedro Rebel. That's another one that, you know, inexpensive, not a bad fragrance. But the one I decided to go with is one that I think would be worthy to talk about, that a lot of you do know about, is Club de Nuit Intense Man by Armaf. Now, I don't actually have my bottle with me. I actually gave it away to a subscriber for a contest, so I think that's fair game. You guys know that I've actually worked with that fragrance, otherwise I wouldn't be throwing it in this mix just talking about something I don't know about. Now, Club de Nuit Intense Man by Armaf does sell for around $25 to $35, just depending on, you know, where you're looking, whether it's, you know, Fragrance X, Fragrance Net, Fragrance Buy, eBay. That's pretty much the consensus. I think I even saw it on Amazon for like 30 bucks. So, you know, that's pretty much straight across the board. And it does come in a 100 ml bottle. So what you're gonna get in that 100 ml bottle is much better performance. It is rough. I'm gonna say this, on the opening for me, that first 25, 30, 35 minutes is rough, really, really rough. Now again, this is me, and some of you may disagree, some of you may agree, because I've talked to other people who have said the same thing, saying if you can get past that opening, you've got it licked. Because on the opening, it does come off really, really smoky. Like the one that I had, it was very, very dark. So if you're like that, you know, that dark birchy type thing going on, it's there, but it's synthetic and not so much in a good way. But the good news is once it starts to dry down, yeah, you've got something to work with then for sure. Lots of compliments, lots of attention. Just in case if you guys haven't seen some of the reactions from what Club de Nuit Intense Man is capable of, I'm going to put a link to a video right here, which actually was a DNA battle that had like a batch of Aventus that actually beat a bunch of other batches of Aventus out to go against different DNAs. So there was the actual Aventus there with numerous different Aventus DNAs, clones, this, that, and the other. But Club de Nuit Intense Man actually won that contest, which literally and legitimately shocked me. I really didn't think that that would come out the one victorious. But a lot of people swear by this fragrance. They, have actually, I know some people who've actually replaced Aventus with this for performance and price reasons. So if you're trying to get something on a budget where you're kind of winning in both places, it does smell very much like Aventus. And, for me, it does, deviate a little bit. Like when you have them side by side, of course, you can tell Aventus is going to smell more natural. It's going to have, that really sweet, pineapple and bergamot and everything, where the Club de Nuit Intense Man, they use a lot of different, substitutions with aroma chemicals. So when you're smelling naturals versus aroma chemicals, and especially, like for the cheaper aroma chemicals, you can tell the differences. Now, from what I know and what I've heard from a lot of people and personally using Club de Nuit Intense Man, I know that it's a great alternative for Aventus. As a matter of fact, it's like the showstopper for a lot of you. Women love Club de Nuit Intense Man. Yes, women love Aventus. They absolutely do. But I promise you, unless you have a woman that is really into fragrances, that really digs deep and gets into fragrances, she'll never know the difference, other than the fact that the Club de Nuit Intense Man's probably going to be lasting longer. Now, other than this smelling like Aventus and smelling, somewhat synthetic to a trained nose anyway, I have heard a few people say that it has a soapy vibe. I've heard people say a lemon pledge vibe. I've also heard sexy. I have even heard like skanky. So it's all over the map with different opinions, as it should be. I mean, we all have different noses. We all have different tastes. But the point of this video is to give you alternatives that will save you money. So you've got Mont Blanc Explorer, where you can actually grab that between 50 to 60 bucks if you look in the right places for 100 ml. And then we've got Club de Nuit Intense Man, which is going to run between $25 to $35. And comparing that to a fragrance that is usually going to run, $300-400 bucks. And yes, it can be bought cheaper than that, but be careful. It is not only like the most inspired fragrance, it's also one of the most bootlegged fragrances. If you see it on wish.com for $100 or less, I'd say don't buy it. If you're buying from eBay, be careful. And I am just talking about Aventus here. If somebody's going to try to like bootleg some Mont Blanc Explorers and Club de Nuit Intense Man, it would not surprise me, but I would just say be extremely cautious when you are actually going to be buying the Aventus bottles. So I hope you enjoyed episode 1 of Smell Better on a Budget featuring Creed Aventus and its alternatives. Look down at that subscribe button. Is it red? If it is, turn it gray, click the all, make sure you're getting all notifications. That way you know when I'm dropping the next video, which is now daily. Yes, you're going to get more of your favorite reviews from one of your favorite Southern boys on Carolina Fragrance Reviews. Let me know down in the comments what your favorite alternative to Creed Aventus, or is just Aventus the king no matter what. Until next time, we'll see you on Carolina Fragrance Reviews.